Fulbright Scholarship is a organization, or the Fulbright organization is an American organization that was put together, I believe, in the 20th century to encourage international cooperation and cultural communication between America and other countries. So every year they give out a lot of money and a lot of scholarships for people to either do research abroad in countries all around the world or to teach English. And I had the choice between research and English in Germany. And I decided to go with teaching English just because the application process is about a year before you find out your decision. And I hadn't taken my senior seminar yet. I didn't know what direction I would want to research in a year in a different country. So I decided to do something that didn't hinge on like where my academics took me and would be a little more flexible. So that's what the Fulbright program is, and they'll pay for me to teach English in a German high school in Hamburg for 9 months. And they give me money to travel on the weekends and to sort of spread cultural happiness around Europe and wherever else I choose to go. So it's a really cool organization, and my loans are forgiven while I'm doing it. I'm not going to lie, that was one of the biggest reasons I applied. My advisor, my German advisor, Russell Christensen, who is now retired, was the biggest proponent of the Fulbright Scholarship for me. And he's gotten a lot of students into the Fulbright program. He is a huge liaison with the Fulbright program. He knows a lot of people high up. And it sounded so scary at first. And the stakes are really high. So at first I was like, this seems like a lot of work, and I don't think I'm going to get it just because it's so prestigious. And he really pushed me to continue doing it. And he pushed me to perfect my German in a lot of different facets. And he kept me positive throughout the process because it is a year while you're waiting, and it's such uncertainty. But it was Russell Christensen. We can thank him 100% for getting me to where I am right now with this. So there's the application online where you fill in your information, and that's pretty straightforward. And then you have to write 2 different essays, and it's much more intensive for the research part of it. So initially when I was deciding, I looked at that, and you need a very clear research proposal and sources already and how much research you've done so far on the project. So if someone chooses to do that, I think the process is a little more lengthy. But my process, I had to write 2 different essays. And the challenge with the essays is that they could essentially have the same content in them, even though the questions were different. So I believe one of the questions was, what makes you want to teach English in another country? And then I believe the other question was, tell me about your background in education or your academic background. So the challenge was to say different things in both of them without overlapping too much. And there was a little bit of overlap, but I just tried to overlap the most important things that I was trying to get across. So that was the process, and usually there is an interview on Hamline's campus with like Hamline's Fulbright colleague, which is Carrie Rixmeyer, but I didn't go through that part of the process, unfortunately, so thank goodness I still got the grant. But for anyone who's looking to do this in the future, make sure you do that interview. It's going to help you. So that's the process. It was overwhelming to try to make concrete plans before I found out. So I was kicking around the idea of trying for the Peace Corps and going somewhere other than Germany. But I really wanted to further my German knowledge. So if I hadn't gotten the Fulbright, I probably would have tried to go through another program that would have gotten me to Germany, just because I didn't study abroad in college. And I really feel like I've been studying German for a long time, so attaining fluency in the host country would be ideal. So I would have tried to do something that would have gotten me back to Germany, but thank goodness I didn't have to try to pull together a plan B. Absolutely. One of the things I talked about a lot in both my papers was how essential language is in constructing the way we understand reality. And that's such a huge part of a lot of theory in all parts of English classes that we take. We learn that in every class. So that was something that I was really fascinated about, was how is my worldview going to change when I'm in a country where people construct their visions of the world differently through a very different language. And that came directly from my English classes, that idea and that mode of thinking, and that reason for wanting to go. So yeah, that was the main boon from the English department. The traveling fire was spawned because, like I said, I didn't study abroad in college, because I had a major and 2 minors and different jobs that I was doing, and I did collaborative research, so it just never really panned out the way I wanted it to. And I'm not exactly sure where I want to end up career-wise, what I want to do, and if I do go to grad school, I don't want to do it right away. So I thought the best thing to do would be to expand my understanding of the world as much as possible, to try to contextualize my experience in growing up in Minnesota. Like, I'm from Minnesota, I haven't lived anywhere else. So before I decide exactly how I can contribute to society, I want to understand the world a little bit more. So, plus traveling is just amazing. And when you can have an opportunity to do it, that's paid for, and that is supported by your entire university and community, you can't ask for anything better. I've kicked around the idea of being a teacher for a while, but it was never a main profession in my mind. And I've been told that I should consider it, I guess. So in a lot of ways, this is going to teach me whether or not this is something I could see myself doing. I do really enjoy working with people and connecting with people in front of a classroom. I think that's really fun, sort of collaborative learning. And in a language environment, that'll be even better to get to talk about like the nitty-gritty of English grammar to German high school students. So it'll be good to do it in a way or in a subject that I'm comfortable with. And then if I end up liking it, that can be a legitimate option for me. We'll see what happens. We'll see if I like it or if it drives me insane. Because you just never know. That's something that takes experience to know whether or not you're cut out for it. Sort of. In order to keep my level of sanity at a manageable place during senior year, I really tried to live as much in the moment as possible. And so when people ask me that question of, well, what are you going to do after the Fulbright? It's like, we have a whole year of experiences, and I'm going to grow so much. I do want to go to grad school eventually at some point. So that's my only plan that I'm tied to. But that's still in the ambiguous future, depending on what happens when I'm abroad. So I know I'll want to continue in some capacity studying the things that I'm studying now, especially the paper that I did in senior seminar that I'm continuing to work on. I'll want to continue to flesh that out as I continue throughout life. So aside from that, possibilities are endless.